Hey guys, welcome to another Basement Collective video. There's going to be an introduction in just a second for the video itself, but I just want to let you know that this is a new series we're starting, and it's going to be how to play 40k, or learning how to play 40k. This video is just going to cover the first game I had with Steven. He's going to meet in a second, and it's just going to cover the introduction phase and just how to set up the game, and then it's going to cover deployment. The next couple of videos is going to be 2 or 3 more videos, and this segment will cover the rest of the game. Just so you know, it was a pretty quick game. It ended turn 2. Now, just as a side note, I do want to let you know that I do tend to speak quite quickly, and I can slur my words sometimes. I do notice myself, and I gotta slow down. But so if you see that in this video, or hear that I should say, just excuse that. But also, if you see any rules mistakes or anything along the line as that, let me know, because if I'm trying to teach people how to play, I want to make sure I'm telling them the right thing. Any suggestions on how to even teach people in a better manner would be appreciative. But I hope you enjoy this video, and like I said, if you have any comments, shoot us in a YouTube comment or anything like that. Have yourself a wonderful day.
Hey Basement Collective, today we have our first Hey Basement Collective, today we have the first installation of a new series we're going to try and do maybe twice a month, somewhere around there. It's Learning 40k. Today we have Thurston or Stefan.
Steve or
Thurston or
yeah.
Whatever he wants to be called at the time. We'll call him Steve. Steve?
How's it going?
Steve is going to, he actually plays Warhammer Fantasy, so it's not completely new to wargaming. But he's had a Grey Knight army sitting on his shelf for a long time, and he decided he finally wants to learn. So it's nice that we don't have to go through the basics of learning wargaming in general. Hopefully we'll get somebody one day where we can go through that. But like 40k is vastly different from fantasy. So what do you think, Grey Knights? What drew you into want to learn how to play 40k finally?
Mostly the backstory and just the cool models.
Yeah, and plus fantasy, nobody knows what's happening with it right now.
No, it's all kind of up in the air.
Up in the air, so there's a couple guys in my store getting a backup game going on here, in case fantasy takes a dive off the end there. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're just going to set up a 4x4 table. We're going to put the camera on the tripod, and we're just going to film it. We're going to talk. We might not get through the whole thing in this video, but we will chop it up into 2 videos, and we can go from there. We're going to go over the basics of 40k, the movement. We're not going to go over the rule book per se, like taking a rule book and going through it, but we're going to go through the rules when they come up. So when movement phase, we're going to talk about what can move what, how far can they move, shooting phase, and so on. I think we'll probably get through this nice introduction, and maybe the setup phase and the setting up the game, and maybe the first 2 turns in this video, and then the next video or 2 we'll go through the remainder of this stuff. But you excited to get started?
Extremely.
I got about 5 messages today. Only 8 more hours so I can learn how to play 40k. No, but we always welcome new people here, and we always like seeing new people start the game. Actually, I was just talking about this on my local forum there, the Dark Shard. If you have a chance, go check it out. Even if you're an Ontario gamer, darkshard.ca, I think it is, or darkshard.com. One of the two. One of those 2 is our gaming board, so check it out. But I was talking about new players. Somebody posted a thread saying we don't see enough young new players, and then my comment was I don't think Warhammer 40k is really a game for young players anymore. A lot of the guys in the gaming group or in the forum started when they were 13 or 12 or 13, 14. But we don't see kids that young played any wargaming game. At least I haven't seen it. And my comment was, I'm not so much wishing for new players or young players. I'm wishing for new players, period. People like Thurston or Steve who never played and are interested in playing. And I think the most crucial thing to do for a new player is to get them playing at somewhere else compared to a local shop, because that's all their gaming is constricted to the local shop, and only on a Saturday or whenever the gaming store has all the people over. Well, then I find that might cause them to not stick with a game. But if you can get them involved in a local gaming group, you build the social aspect of the game up a lot. Then that's when I find that they stick around for longer. But after that little rant, let's get this game set up, and we'll go through the list and we'll see what's happening here. Okay, guys, now for this Learning 40k battle report. My army's pretty simple. I took a fairly decent, just a small White Scar army, 500 points. We have a tactical squad sergeant with a plasma pistol and a plasma gun inside a rhino. And then we have a melting squad, 2 melted guns, a sergeant with a combi mounter, and Cacero's Khan on a Moondraken, I think the bike is called. And that comes to 500 points exactly. And then we have Steve's 500 points of Grey Knights. Now, I made this list for him since he's completely new. So what he has is he has a Dread Knight with the sword, the cannon, and a personal teleporter. A level 2 librarian, no upgrades. And a 5-man Terminator squad, all with halberds and 1 Psy cannon. And then you have 500 points of Grey Knights. I do apologize if you're talking in the background. We are not the only ones here. We have our little brothers for the weekend, or I guess for a couple days. It's the reading week, and our stepbrother, or our roommate. He's also our stepbrother, is on Skype with a friend. But I do apologize. But anyways, what we're going to do is we're just going to set the camera up on this tripod right here. We're actually just playing on a 4-foot by 4-foot. We get everything in the shot except for these 2 bunkers. So we do apologize if you're. If we go off camera. We got to get a legitimate tripod next. I mean, that's good for but we need one that you can set up on the floor, so we don't have to worry about that. But what we'll do is we're just going to roll the camera, and we're going to go through how to play the game. So if I make any mistakes in teaching, please let us know, and if you think there's a better way to do something, you can let us know about that as well. But otherwise, we'll set it up, and we're just going to play it. I might do a bit of editing and get rid of the stuff that we don't need, but you'll just see it as it happens. So you excited there, Steve?
Very. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Okay, guys, so Steve, first things first, we saw our army list. We know what we're playing. Okay. Now we have to decide, C. For this game, we decided that we're playing just Dawn of War deployment. Now, what Dawn of War deployment is there's 3 types of deployment at 40k. Either you go the table side to table side like this. That's called Dawn of War.
Okay.
Then there's Hammer and Anvil, which you take the long sides and go like this. Or there is Vanguard Strike deployment, where the table's divided diagonally down the middle like that, and you attack from in. So for a simple game, we're going to play Dawn of War deployment, which is just like this.
Okay.
Very simple. Next, we got to figure out what game type we're playing. Well, there's 2 different types of game types. There's what we call Eternal War missions and Maelstrom. You can make your own missions too, but Eternal War missions is a D6 table of missions that have mostly objectives. So you'll have an objective, and at the end of the game, if you hold the most objectives, you win, basically. Then there's Maelstrom Edition. What Maelstrom Edition is you got the Grey Knight cards, and there's a deck of cards, and each turn you have objectives, and if each turn you do the objectives, you get points that turn, and then win if you have the most points in the game. For simplicity and for learning, I think it's always best to play Dawn of War and a mission type called Purge the Alien. Purge the Alien doesn't use objectives, it just uses, you gotta kill the most of your opponent's army. For each full unit you kill of your opponent, you get 1 point. Okay. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 points, because your HQs count as a separate unit for if you kill the HQ, and you have 1, 2, 3. So 3 to 4 points, pretty easy. Most points at the end. And then on top of the point system, to get that, you then have things called, you can then get victory points by doing 3 other things. First, slay the warlord. So in this mission type, you get 1 point just for killing the warlord, but then you get another point for slay the warlord. So you get 2 points for killing your warlord, 1 for the Purge the Alien, and 1 for slay the warlord. And then you have First Blood. So if you're the first person to kill a full unit, you get an additional victory point at the end of the game. And then you have a line breaker. So at the end of the game, if you're inside your opponent's deployment zone with at least partially 1 unit, you get that point. Now deployment zones. For each of the mission types, each of the deployment types we talk about has a deployment type or a zone. For Dawn of War, you have 12 inches. So you can deploy 12 inches up, like this. Okay. Pretty simple. Now that we figured out what mission type and what game type we're playing, and the way the board is set up, what we'll do is we got to roll our psychic powers and our warlord traits.
Okay.
Now my warlord trait is automatic with Khan. If he kills your character in a challenge, I get additional D3 victory points to the total at the end.
Okay.
But yours isn't, because you got a librarian. So what we do is we get our rule book over here, And you also have your Grey Knight book. So here's your choice. You can choose to roll in your Grey Knight book, and that's what we'll get you to do for simplicity. Then we'll go to the back of your book, the very back. There should be a table with warlord traits, it says in it. Yeah, okay. And or there's more. If you don't have an automatic one, you can choose to roll in your codex one, or you can choose to roll in one of these, one from the main rule book. But we're gonna get you to roll in that one. So now you roll a d6, and you'll see what results you get. It doesn't matter. The camera's probably not gonna pick it up the whole time. If you want to see it, just roll it over here. But what do we get here?
We got perfect timing.
So what is it?
The warlord and his unit have the counterattack special rule.
Okay, now what counterattack does, very simply, is if you get charged, you get an extra attack on the turn you get. Normally, when you charge, you get an extra attack, and so let's say if you're the one to make the charge in, you get an extra attack. But so normally when you get charged, you don't get the extra attack, but counterattack gives you that extra attack. Huh. So now you're battle forged. Now there's two ways to build an army list in Warhammer 40k. We don't use the other one very often. There's one where you can take anything you want. It doesn't have to be minimum or maximum. It's unbound. You actually probably read a rumor that Fantasy's going to get that. But so that means, but then what you have is bound. So that means that you followed a set like army list that you have to take. You follow the Nemesis Strike Force. So you had 1 HQ and 1 troop minimum. So you got your 1 HQ, you got your 1 troop minimum. That's your librarian and your terminators. And then you have 3 heavy supports, 4 elite spots, and 3 or 2 fast attacks. Can't remember. But you took, so that means you're bound. So you get so because you can go unbound or bound. If you go bound, you get additional benefits. What are those benefits being? You get to re-roll your warlord trait if you don't like what you got. But I would say that's pretty good. I'd keep that just for arm's sake. And okay. Mine's automatic, so I don't have to do that. So now that we know our warlord traits, next comes psychic powers. Now you're Grey Knights. You're probably the most known psychic army. Tyranids and demons could probably get more psychic dice than you, especially demons, but Grey Knights are like, in the fluff, you probably know the fluff, they're like powerful anti-demon psychers, and you have to like go through all this training. It's like Jedi training and all that craziness. Anyways, you have the set of cards for actually your psychic powers.
Yes, I do.
Just like your warlord traits, there's also, oh, there we have it. Just like your warlord traits, there's also an additional, the rule book, the main rule book has psychic powers you can take from as well. But for simplicity, we'll get you to use your what's it called? Your own psychic powers. But there's also these psychic powers at different tables. Now, there's 6 tables in here. Those ones are actually in this. The Grey Knights and the Demons are the only ones that have their psychic powers in the actual main rulebook deck. But basically, so you'd get to choose to roll on that table for your psychers, or you get to choose to roll on one of these guys that are allowed to in your army list. But for simplicity, we're going to do now your Dread Knight and your Terminators. They have psychic powers, but they have static psychic powers, so they can't change. So we'll go through that, what you have at the end. But your Librarian, he does get to choose or get to roll for his psychic powers. He's a level 2 Librarian. So go ahead and roll 2 dice. Now you have to keep these. If there's a double, you get to re-roll them.
Okay.
So 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Gates of Affinity is good.
Oh, great. We got both playing.
I got Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And Purge Soul.
Okay, and you get now. Now here's the thing. In 40k, if you take all your spells from the same tree, they're called, so all your psychic powers from the same tree, you automatically also get the Primaris power.
Everyone's call.
Okay.
Which is useless for you in this game because it has to do with demons, and you're not playing any demons. But you know you have that. So if let's say you didn't want to take that from your Sanctic powers, you could then choose to roll in here. Now what you would do if you chose to roll in here, you could choose, well, I want to roll my powers from one table, in which case you'd get the Primaris from that table free, or I want to roll my powers separate. So you have 2 dice, you roll on 2 separate tables, at which point you don't automatically get the Primaris power. You can then choose to trade any spell from that tree for the Primaris power from the same tree. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now for him, for the Dread Knight, I'm going to get, do you got your Grey Knight Codex?
Yeah.
Oh wait. So for the Dread Knight, go to the Dread Knight page. Say heavy support. Here at the end. Should be
Right there.
yeah. Okay, now let's see where it talks about psychic powers. So right here, Psyker. He knows the powers. He knows Sanctuary.
Sanctuary and banishment.
Yeah. So he knows Banishment. Now Banishment is the Primaris. Has to do with demons. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Sanctuary is good. Dread Knights and Sanctuary are awesome. That gives them +1 to their invul save. They already have a 5+ invul save, so that becomes a 4+. In fantasy wise, that's similar to a ward save. It's not. It's barely ever ignored.
Yeah, I'm not right.
So you at least got
Okay.
that. And now the Terminators. They're troops.
Yeah.
So they know Hammerhead
Hammerhand.
and anything else. Hammerhand,
And banishment.
Banishment. See, so everybody knows Banishment and they know Hammerhead. Now what Hammerhead does is that's +2 strength to the unit. So that's really good in combat. So it puts their strength 5 halberds to strength 7. So that's pretty good. And these are no longer good. So now that we have our psychic powers, we know what those are. Next we roll. We figured everything out. We got the deployment set up. We got the type of mission set up. We got our psychic powers rolled. We got our warlord traits. Next comes to see who actually rolls first, chooses the table side, and then so basically. So next we have to roll. Okay, so let's roll. And now this is going to decide who gets to deploy first and chooses what table side they want to deploy on. So 4 and 2. Okay, so now here you get to go. Now here, so you could choose either to let me deploy first, and then after I deploy, you deploy, and then once I'm done deploying first, I get to choose if I want to go first or second. If I choose to go first, you could then choose to seize the initiative on a roll of a 6, like fantasy. But I have a really fast attacking army, and basically most of the time you're going to want to go first. In some cases, if you have a drop pod army and you have nothing on the board and your opponent has nothing to do first turn, you can let them go first. But lots of the time you're going to want to go first, especially with Grey Knights. Now we do deployment. So you have to know what your, so since we took this from your Nemesis Strike Force, there's a special rule which allows your units to ride from Deep Strike first turn. So normally you start rolling for Deep Strike reserves on your second turn. Grey Knights can do that first turn. On a 3+, it goes in. So this is interesting. Now you have to start with something on the board, because if you end the game turn with nothing on your board, you lose. So if you go first and I go, and after I go there's nothing on the board, you lose automatically because you're tabled. So here's what you can do. What I would do in your case, put your Dread Knight on the board. Basically put him. Now he has a 5-up invul, so we can put him in ruin. So measure your 12 inches, because that's your deployment zone. So you can get up to 12 inches. We use the end of the dowel here.
Gotcha.
The inside of the dowel. So now you want to give him. Now he has a 5-up invul. So in 40k you could choose to get a cover save. In 40k it goes either so when you get shot at and the wound goes through, you can either get your armor save, you can take a cover save, or you can take your invul save. So whatever's the highest at the time.
I was gonna say you can choose it.
You can choose whatever's the highest, obviously. So
5,000.
for him, he has a 2-up armor save, a 5-up invul save, but with Sanctuary that can be made to a 4-up invul save. And obviously no cover save, just standing open. So if you put him inside the ruins here, so he's good. Now what ruins do is they give a 4-up armor save. So now he has a 2-up armor save, a 4-up cover save, or a 5-up invul save. So if I shoot a weapon that ignores your armor, you can choose to take your cover. If I shoot a weapon that ignores your cover, you can choose, and your armor, you can then take your invul save. Or if you boost your invul save and you have a 4-up cover or invul save, it doesn't really matter which one you take. Okay, so now you can choose. Do you want to start these guys on the board, or do you want to what is it? I think it's a 66% chance they'll come in first turn and deep strike somewhere where you might be able to get a better shot. But remember, if you do keep them in reserve and they deep strike, they can't charge the first turn they come down.
Can they still shoot?
They can still shoot, and they still got a psychic phase. You just cannot charge.
Okay.
You want to keep them in reserve?
I think we'll keep them in reserve and deep strike, yeah.
Okay, very good. So now you're done deployment. Obviously, those are staying in reserve. And the Terminator is part of the Now, the Terminator is going to join that squad, I take it?
Yeah.
Yep. So you join that. So now we go to my deployment very easily. I have a Rhino. Now my 10 guys are embarked inside my Rhino. So I'll put him 12 inches up right there. And then my bike squad.
Yes.
My leader Con on his bike's gonna join this squad. And he's gonna go right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure it's 12 inches up. Okay. There we go. Now, we are both deployed, but technically deployment's not done because then there's other special rules that happen at the end of deployment. Some warlord traits will give you these rules, or some just don't have it. For me, White Scars, they have a thing called Scout. What Scout does is it allows me to redeploy my guys, whatever it is. So I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure, I know my bikes have the Scout special rule because they are White Scars. And I think, now I'm probably wrong, but I think this guy has Scout too. I'm just going to double check, guys. I don't play with my Rhino very often, but I figured it's a learning game, why not try something different? If you have any questions at any point, just let me know there.
Okay.
White Scars. Okay, so basically all the guys, all my bikes pass the dangerous terrains automatically. So normally bikes moving through any terrain are not flowed by terrain, but they have to take a dangerous terrain check. That means on a roll of a 1, they would take a wound, and automatically, and they get their armor saves normally. Normally, they get their armor save still, but they would still take a wound. And they add +1 to the Jink save. So what a Jink save is a cover save. So I could choose to Jink before you roll to hit me. If I Jink save though, I normally get a 4+ cover, but because I'm White Scars, that goes to a 3+ cover save. I do not get, but in my next turn, I'm automatically snap shooting. And what snap shooting means, I'm down to ballistic skill 1, hitting on 6s. So there's this, so now, but then, because I'm taking the White Scar Chapter Master, he also gives special rules to my whole army. And we're just going to read what that is. I'm pretty sure it does give Scout to all my dedicated transport and my bikes, but better check. Brayden, you're yawning pretty loud there, buddy. There you go. Okay, if Con is your worldly friendly, models with the Chapter attacks with White Scar special rule and bikes or dedicated transport have the Scout special rule. Okay, so now first is Infiltrators. So before Scout, normally Infiltrator goes. Nobody has Infiltrators. We'll ignore that rule for now, but just know that's happened. Now comes Scout. So I get to redeploy. So these guys get to deploy another 12 inches. So he's going to go up here like this. And then this guy's going to go like so. These guys are just going to space out. I'm going to see now, you'll notice that I'm putting my more expendable guys up front. So these guys, they don't have any special weapons. If they die first, it's not as big. And he has a 1-use special weapon. So if he dies, it's not as big as losing my 2-use special weapons or my HQ. So there you go. So now I have redeployed Scout. Scouting and Infiltrate is over, so deployment is officially over. Now since you finish first, you get to choose if you want to go first or second.
Okay, I'll go first.
You chose to go first. So that means I can either let you go first and say I'll go second, or I can choose to try and seize the initiative on a roll of a 6. I'm going to try and seize the initiative on a roll of a 6. And I do not. So you get your first turn.